All right, thank you so much, all. This is Gurpal Singh from Gursur Education, and you have joined me in this session. And this is going to be the lecture regarding paper second. So, as you all know, that we are already going with a series of managerial economics, and we are studying it very hard. And we have completed a number of important lectures. Like first of all, the theories of firms we have gone through. After that, we have studied the concept regarding demand elasticity of demand, utility I have taught you, revenue analysis I have taught you. The most important thing now today is going to be covered in this lecture, and that is going to be regarding indifference curve analysis. In this lecture I shall be talking about what is the meaning of indifference curves and why this is important for us to study. What is the relevance of a study of indifference curves from the point of view of a manager or the business organization, and what does it benefit to you if you prepare this specific lecture from exam point of view? So all these things we shall be talking about, and basically if I tell you the structure of this lecture, then we shall be covering regarding indifference curve, their meaning. After that we shall be talking about indifference map. I shall show you some kind of a tables by which you can easily draw the indifferent curves, you can make their analysis. And after that we shall be talking about the most important topic of this specific lecture, that is going to be regarding properties of indifference curves. We shall be talking about that, and finally we shall study the budget line or price line. We shall be talking about that, which is very necessary to understand the concept of a consumer equilibrium. So finally in this lecture we shall be talking about consumer equilibrium as well. So that is the proper structure, and although I shall write each and everything what we are going to cover in this specific lecture. So let's move further. I'm just going to share the screen so that everything is visible to you, so that you can see what we have prepared for you. And a number of students have joined in this lecture as well. So just going to share the screen so that you can see this all, and this is all. All right, so now I have shared with you the screen in which the concept regarding indifference curve analysis we are going to study today. So before understanding or before seeing this lecture, it is prerequisite that you have understood regarding the basics of managerial economics, about which we have already delivered number of lectures. So I hope you would have gone through from demand, elasticity of demand, utility analysis, and revenue curves as well. Because in this lecture we are going to talk about different concepts about which the complete sequence I think I have already described. So now just going to share with you the individual concept, and first of all we shall be talking about what does indifferent curves means. Okay, so indifference curves is a curve. When we talk about curve simply means whatever we can draw on the graph. Okay, so these kind of things are known as curve. Okay, a curve is which shows us the different combination or the different we can say the points of commodities. So here is OX axis, here is OY axis. Okay, so a curve simply shows the combination of coordinates of different items. Okay, so if we are talking about this specific point, that it refers to X units and Y units. Okay, here can be 5, here can be 10 or anything. Okay, so this specific coordinate is referring something. So this is known as curve. I hope you would have got some idea regarding curve. So here I have already explained curve only, and what's the meaning of indifference curve? I'm going to explain it right now. Indifference curve shows different combination of two commodities yielding equal satisfaction. Okay, so this is talking about equal satisfaction with the different combinations. Okay, so here if we plot OX and OY, suppose here I am writing the apples on the OX axis, apple units of apple like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And suppose here I am writing the units of oranges. Okay, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what is indifference curve? You know that if you consume uh, 3 apples and 1 oranges, okay, suppose this is the total consumption of yours, then why do you consume? Just for the for the sake of getting some kind of a satisfaction. Okay, just for the sake of getting some kind of satisfaction, you eat something. But you know that there can be different combinations of eating different commodities. Like, it's not necessary that you have to consume 3 apples and 1 oranges only. It's the possibility that you can consume 4 apples and 2 oranges only. It's the possibility that you can consume 1 apple and 4 units of oranges as well. So there are the different combination of the two commodities which can leads to the equal satisfaction. Okay, when we are talking about equal satisfaction, that means that whatever the satisfaction you are getting from 1 unit of apple and 4 unit of apple and 1 unit of oranges, suppose you are getting the 20 levels of satisfaction, the same satisfaction can be obtained by having 3 units of apple and 2 units of oranges. So these are the two different combination, but they are yielding the equal satisfaction to the consumer. So when we plot on the graph a curve which shows the different combinations of two commodities which are yielding the equal satisfaction, that is known as indifference curve. So if we simply plot that, okay, so suppose I am plotting this. Okay, so this is showing me the different combinations. This is combination first, this is combination second, this is combination third. Is just showing that I am consuming 5 units of oranges and 1 unit of apple. The second combination is telling me that I am consuming 4 units of oranges and 2 units of apple. So in this way you can plot different combinations, and when you make the curve from these different combinations, okay, from these different combinations, so that curve ultimately leads to the indifference curve. So this is all about indifference curve. So I hope you would have got idea of what I'm going to teach you in this lecture. So here is the simple example of what does indifference curve and what does the combination of a different commodity means to you. So here is the unit of apples given, and here the units of bananas are given. Okay, so different combinations have been named as P, Q, R, S, T. So these are just the name of different combination of two commodities. It's just showing that if you consume one unit of apple and 15 units of bananas, then you get some kind of satisfaction. If you consume 2 units of apple and 10 units of bananas, the same kind of satisfaction you are getting. Okay, so when if you are consuming 3 units of apple and 6 units of banana, same kind of satisfaction you get. Okay, so these are the different combinations of two commodities by consuming of which you get the equal satisfaction. And if we represent them in a cardinal utility, maybe these are 20 levels of satisfaction. So you are getting 20 levels of satisfaction by consuming the different combinations. And must remember in your mind this this specific figure or this specific term, like 20 levels of satisfaction, I am taking hypothetically. Okay, so I hope you would have got some idea of what is this about. This is the indifference curve. Okay, so when it's just showing the different combination. This is P combination, this is Q combination, this is R combination, this is S, and this is T combination. So the consumer can take any kind of a combination. He can select P, he can select Q, he can select R, he can select S or T. Any combination he can accept. Why? Because each of these combinations is yielding him the equal satisfaction, because he should be completely indifferent towards what he should choose from the below given combination. So if we are choosing Q, then it's not going to make any kind of differences in total satisfaction. So when we just combine all the coordinates and when we plot a curve on that, and that curve is known as indifference curve. The name indifference has been derived from the idea that the consumer can completely be indifferent towards any combination, because any combination is going to be the same level of satisfaction to him. So it's all about that. So here is the very great term which is used in concept of indifference curves analysis, and this is known as monotonic preferences. What are these? Okay, so it's very obvious that you shall prefer that commodity which has higher level of satisfaction. Suppose there are two commodities available. These are apples and bananas, and whatever you like the most, whatever gives you the most satisfaction, you will obviously prefer that commodity, and this is known as monotonic preferences. So monotonic preferences means that a rational consumer always prefers more of a commodity as it gives him higher level of satisfaction. And this is all about whatever you like and whatever the thing gives you the higher level of satisfaction, you always choose that only. Then there is indifference map. If we are plotting different indifference curves, okay, so these gives us the indifference map. So indifference map refers to the family of indifference curves that represent consumers' preferences over all bundles of two goods. All bundles of two goods. Okay, so indifference curves represent all commodities which provide same level of satisfaction. So if we are plotting different indifference curves, okay, so this is IC3. This means indifference curve third, indifference curve second, indifference curve third. So here is the OX axis, and commodity X has been given, units of commodity X has been given on this axis, and commodity Y units, these have been given in OY axis. Okay, so indifference curves, there are three different indifference curves which are telling you the different preferences or a different levels of two combination of two commodities. And when we plot these different levels and when we see that, whatever we get is known as indifference map, and this is all about that. So indifference map is just telling you that the higher indifference curve represent a higher level of satisfaction. Okay, so here you can see that there are three kind of indifference curves. Okay, indifference curve one is below the two indifference curves. Okay, and IC2 is middle, IC3 is the at the higher level, and the higher level of indifference curves always tell you higher level of satisfaction. Okay, so this thing you have to keep in mind. So if there are number of indifference curve, whichever the indifference curve shall be at the higher level, that shall represent to the higher level of satisfaction from the consumer's point of view. Then after that, we have to study regarding some laws, and these are known as marginal rate of substitution. This is marginal rate of substitution. And what is this? Before going through different law, there are three laws. For that, I must tell you the meaning of marginal rate of substitution. For that, you just have to see this combination. Okay, so you just have to see this combination again. So here two commodities have been given. This is apples and this is banana. Okay, so in the first combination, we assume that the consumer is consuming 1 unit of apple and 15 units of bananas. Okay, and in the second combination, he is consuming 2 apples. Now he is increasing 1 apple. Okay, he is increasing 1 apple. He is increasing the consumption of 1 apple. And you can see on the other side that the consumer is consuming 10 units of bananas. That means he is reducing his consumption for bananas. These are by 5 units. Okay, so in the next levels as well, you can see that there is the consumption of 3 apples, then 4 apples, then 5 apples. But in case of bananas, this is 10, this is 6, and this is 3, this is 1. That means if the consumption of one commodity is increasing, then it ultimately refers that the consumption of the other commodity shall be decreasing. only then there shall be the equal satisfaction with the different combinations. That just mean to say that if you are consuming units of one commodity more and more, so that's why you shall have to reduce the consumption of a second commodity. Only then there shall be the equal satisfaction. If you are consuming 2 apples and you are increasing your consumption for bananas as well, suppose 16 units, okay, suppose 16 units, that does not give you equal satisfaction as in the case of combination P. Okay, so it's just says you that if you want to achieve the level of equal satisfaction from the different combinations of the commodities, then what you have to do, if you are increasing the units consumption of a first commodity, then obviously you shall have to decrease your consumption for the second commodity. Only then this level of equal satisfaction from different combination can be achieved. So it's all about that. And this is about marginal rate of substitution. Substitution word has been added to these laws. The reason being, you have to substitute the units of the second commodity in order to consume more units of a first commodity. Okay, so you have to substitute one units of a first commodity for the units of second commodity, and this is known as the marginal rate of substitution. So I hope you would have got idea of marginal rate of substitution. It has 3 laws in it. The first law is law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution, which is known as DMRS. Okay, it just tells you that marginal rate of substitution for x of x for y, this is written as MRS x and y. Okay, this is the amount of y that will be given up for obtaining each additional unit of x. So what does it tells you? That for attaining every additional unit of x, first of all you were consuming 1 unit of x, and in the same way you were consuming 9 units of y. So this was the first combination of yours. Okay, so this is first unit of x and 9 units of y. So this was the first consumption, first combination. So it's just telling you that in order to what you have to do, you will have to reduce the consumption of y if you wish to obtain additional unit of x. That means when you shall increase the consumption of x, then obviously you shall have to decrease the consumption of y. So that can be seen from this figure. So when the consumption is 2 units, then 2 units for x, the consumption of y is for 6 units. You can see here clearly, and this is combination M. Okay, so here the consumer is consuming 6, and same is the case for the next combinations as well. So this is known as the law of diminishing marginal rate of substitution. It just tells you that just for obtaining the additional units of a commodity, you have to give up some units of the second commodity. So this is known as marginal rate of substitution. So this, in fact, the slope of the curve at a point on indifference curves. Okay, so this just tells you the slope of the curve. Okay, so this is the slope of the curve. So it show you the slope of the curve on the basis of a combination of different commodities. So I hope you would have got idea. This is just very easy to understand. Okay, as you have to consume the units of a first commodity more and more, you have to reduce the consumption of the units of a second commodity. You have to reduce that. Only then there will be the equal level of satisfaction. Then there is constant marginal rate of substitution. What does it mean? Okay, it just mean if you are increasing the consumption of X commodity by 1 unit, then you are decreasing the consumption of Y unit by exactly 1 unit. Okay, so if you are increasing the consumption of X by 2 units, then you are decreasing the consumption of Y commodity by 2 units. Okay, so when you are sacrificing exactly in the same proportion, whatever the curve you get, this is known as constant marginal rate of substitution. So this occurs when to obtain 1 extra unit of a commodity, exactly 1 unit of a commodity is sacrificed. This is known as constant marginal rate of substitution. Here you can see that in the A combination, the consumer is consuming 1 unit of X and 10 units of Y. Okay. So when he is increasing his consumption to 2, that means he is increasing by 1 unit of apples, then he is decreasing 1 unit for Y. Okay. So this is a B combination. Okay. So in this way, if he is increasing by 1 units only, then he is decreasing the consumption of the second commodity by 1 unit only. So he is getting the different kind of a combination, and this kind of marginal rate of substitution is known as constant marginal rate of substitution, in which the commodity of the Y, the units of the Y commodity are sacrificed in the same proportion as there is increment in the units of the first commodity. Then there is increasing marginal rate of substitution. What does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? Increasing marginal rate of substitution implies that stock of a commodity increases with the consumer. He substitute it for the other commodity at increasing rate to maintain the same level of satisfaction. You would understand only with the example of this table and this image. Okay, here you can see the different combination of apples and oranges. This is combination A, combination B, combination C, combination D. So now you just see that in the first combination, for 1 unit of apple is consumed and 10 units of oranges are consumed. But in case of B, 2 units of apples are consumed and 9 units of oranges are consumed. So marginal rate of substitution is 1:1. That means if 1 is added in apple, then 1 is reduced in oranges. Now you see it clearly. Only increment of 1 is done for the third combination. That means the consumer is consuming 3 units of apples. That means from previous he is added only 1 unit. But the sacrifice is for 2 units. First, in the second combination, he was consuming 9 units of oranges, but in the third one, he is consuming 7. So the marginal rate of substitution is 1:2. See again for the fourth combination, this is the combination D. So again, only one unit addition is done in the apple, but the sacrifice is for 3 units now. Sacrifice is increasing, is at increasing rate. Okay, so now you can see at the increasing rate. This is why this term was written here. So when the sacrifice is made in an increasing rate, then you get this kind of a curve, and it happens very rarely. Okay, it happens very rarely. So that if you get that kind of that is the concave kind of curve. If you get this kind of a curve, this is known as increasing marginal rate of substitution. That simply tells you that when you are consuming more and more of a commodity, then you are sacrificing the other commodity as the increasing rate. So I'm again going to read this. The increasing marginal rate of substitution implies that as the stock of a commodity increases with a consumer, that is X commodity. For X commodity, if is increasing, the other commodity he substitute it for other commodity is at increasing rate. So Y is left at increasing rate. So it's just showing you this thing, and this is all about the law of increasing marginal rate of substitution. So that was the complete idea of this. Okay, so when we are talking about decreasing marginal rate of substitution, this is same as what we have already understood in a diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Okay, so here we talk about decreasing rate only. So this is that as stock of a commodity increasing with the consumer, he substitute it for other commodity at a decreasing rate to maintain the same level of satisfaction. You would again understand only with the help of a table and the curve. So now just to see that. Okay, so this is happening. Okay, when you get this kind of curve, when you are getting this kind of curve, then that simply refers to the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. What you have to bear in mind, the only thing is that when you are getting the convex kind of indifference curve, this is a decreasing marginal rate of substitution, that is representing to decreasing marginal rate of substitution. When you are getting this kind of indifference curve, this refers to constant marginal rate of substitution. And finally, if you get this kind of indifference curve, that refers to the increasing marginal rate of substitution, and it is all about that. So that was all to understand in the laws regarding marginal rate of substitution. I hope you would have got the complete idea. Otherwise, all the notes shall be delivered to you as soon as this lecture overs. And these include each and every minute detail regarding all the things. So now the most important thing we have to cover in this lecture are the properties of indifference curve. So we are going to talk about the properties of indifference curve, and for understanding that, you have to bear in mind the meaning of indifference curve. What I have taught you, okay, I have taught you that indifference curve shows the combination of the different combination of two commodities which yield the equal level of satisfaction to consumer. Okay, so first of all, the first property is they slope negatively. Its slope is always negative. Okay, you can see, you can simply see from the curve I am making. So this is representing this is representing the indifference curve. So you can see its slope is decreasing. It's decreasing. Okay, it's a decreasing, and more and more it's always decreasing, and it's from left to right. And you can see this, that it starts from the left and goes to right. So this is the first property of indifference curve. So it always starts from the left and it goes to right. The second the second property is this is convex to origin of axis. Okay, so origin of axis is this, which is also known as its vertex. So if there is x-axis, there is y-axis. So it's always said that the indifference curve is always convex. Convex means this is just representing. This is just at the convex level to the origin of axis. So the origin is this. So this is tilted towards the vertex or the origin of axis. So this, it shapes like that. Although we have studied under the concept of increasing marginal rate of substitution that this can be there, but I've already told you that it happens very rarely, very rarely, in very rare cases. So in 99.99% cases, this is always convex to the origin of axis. The third, every indifference curve to the right represent a higher level of satisfaction. That we have already understood. If we have combination of a different indifference curves, like this is curve 1, this is curve 2, and this is curve 3, then the curve which shall be at higher level, that shall represent the higher level of satisfaction. And this is the third most important property of indifference curves. Then indifference curve never touch any axis. Okay, so if I am plotting this kind of indifference curve, so it's touching OX axis, it can never happen. If it touches, that means you are not consuming the X commodity at all. You are consuming only the Y commodity, and this can never happen because we have to understand the combination of two commodities simultaneously. So this is why it is said that the indifference curve never touches any axis. Okay, and never touches any axis, and they do not intersect with each other as well. Okay, so two indifference curves cannot intersect each other. Okay, that means that same level of satisfaction can be obtained by not at all increasing or decreasing one or other commodity. So it can never happen. So this is why you can see that first of all, it do not touch any axis. Secondly, they do not intersect with each other. The fifth one, they need not necessarily be parallel to each other. Okay, so it's not that these are parallel. One can be like that, the other one can be like that. Okay, the other one can be like that, or other one can be like that as well. So they need not to be parallel. Okay, it's not that they should be exactly like this. Okay, it's not the necessary that they should be parallel to each other. This is the fifth property, and the last one, they are like bangles. Their curves are like bangles. Okay, number of times I have plotted these on the graph. Okay, I have shown you number of pictures. You would see that their uh, curves are like this. Okay, its presentation or its diagram is like this, and it shows the curve like bangles. So it's also the property of indifference curves analysis. So I hope you would have got the complete idea of what we are covering in this lecture. I have taught you a lot of things. So now I think two things are left only. The first one is budget line and price line. And finally, we shall talk about the consumer equilibrium in case of indifference curves analysis. So just going to show you what does it mean. So a budget line or price line represent a various combination of two goods which can be purchased with a given money income assumed the prices of goods. Okay. So you will understand this concept by looking at this specific table and um, this specific graph. So suppose a consumer has an income of 4 rupees. Okay, he's having an income of 4 rupee. He has to spend this on apples and oranges, and their prices have already been given. Price of orange is 0.5 per orange, and that of apple is 1 rupee per apple. Okay, so with his given income and prices of oranges, okay, so prices are already given, income is already given, so two things have given. Whatever a curve you get, so different combination curve you get, that is known as a budget line. Okay, so income is constant, this is 4. Okay, then prices are given 1 and 0.5, 1 for apple and 0.5 for oranges. Okay, so it's the possibility that you consume apples not at all. Maybe that you consume oranges only. Then you can purchase 8 oranges with 4 rupees. Then if you are consuming 1 apple, that means you are left with 3 rupees for oranges. That means you shall be consuming 6 oranges. If you purchase 1 apple for two apples, that shall cost you 2 rupees. Then that means you are left with 2 rupees only for oranges, and then you can purchase 4 units of oranges. So in this way, the combination can be made. So when you plot these combinations, on the graph, that shall provide you the budget lines. Okay, this is the budget line. So it's just to tell you the combination of different commodities with the given level of income and given prices of the commodities. So this is combination A, combination C, combination D, combination E, and combination B. So all these represent, now you would have understood completely the concept of a budget line. So budget line represents the various combination of two goods which can be purchased with a given money income and prices of goods. When you know that your income and your prices and the prices of different commodities, then you can easily know what combination you can purchase from that given income and the given level of prices. And when you plot this gives you your budget line. Okay, that's your budget line. Sometimes this budget line can shift. Okay, it can shift to the upper level as well, and it shall shift to the below level as well. Okay, so this can happen for two reasons, because sometimes your income can be increased or decreased, or sometimes the prices of the commodities can be increased or decreased. Okay, just for two reasons there can be shift in the budget line. Okay, so we shall talk about these. First of all, your income can change. Okay, if your income is changing, if your income is increasing, suppose your income the previous income was 4 rupees, suppose your income increases to 8 rupees, then this is very obvious that now you are able to purchase more commodities for apples or oranges. That means your budget line shall shift shift to the right. Okay, you can see here. Okay, when your change in income is there, first of all your original budget line was this. When changes income is there, then it's just moving upward. Your budget line can move upward. The only reason is you are able to purchase more and more units of both the commodities. Okay, but sometimes suppose your income was, previous income was 4 rupees, now your income is only 2 rupees. Okay, you are only having 2 rupees. Now you have to adjust the commodity or the units of the different commodities in this income only. That means you shall have to decrease your consumption. That's why it can be here as well. So it can decrease, budget line can decrease and it can move to the left. Okay, so this is known as the possible reason of why the budget line shifts. It can shift to rightward. The rightward shifts just indicates that you have more income. Left tilting of budget line just tells you that you are left with a lesser income now. So now the second reason is the price changes. First of all, the price can change. Okay, if the price is changing, this is very obvious. If the prices are decreasing, if the prices of the commodities are decreasing, then obviously you shall have the option to buy more and more. Okay, but in case the prices are increasing, then obviously you shall have the if these are increasing, then you can purchase less only. Okay, so this combination is very easy to understand. Okay, so I'm just writing here, suppose the prices are increasing. Okay, increasing, then obviously you shall purchase less. In case the prices are decreasing, then you shall purchase more. Okay, this is very obvious thing, and you can see, you can relate it with this thing. Okay, commodity X or commodity Y, taking the example of only commodity X only. Okay, so when the price changes is for X only, if the prices are of X are decreasing, then obviously you can purchase more units of X commodity. So the budget line goes rightwards. Okay, so here is the rightward tilting of a budget line. But in case the prices of X are increasing, then you are in the position of consuming less only because the prices have increased. The budget line shall shift towards the left. Okay, so this is known as the second combination. So we can easily say that with the change in the income and change in the prices of the commodities and income of the consumer, then there is the change in the budget line as well. And this is all about this concept. I hope you would have got complete idea of what we have covered in this lecture. So now the last thing we are left with, this is understanding consumers' equilibrium on the basis of indifference curve analysis. Now you have to understand how does a consumer becomes an equilibrium position on the basis of a indifference curves analysis. So first of all, you have to understand what does the equilibrium means. Equilibrium is a situation in which the consumer is deriving maximum satisfaction and he is having no intention to change it. Okay, subject to given prices and given income. Okay, so this is the level of satisfaction. This is the level of maximum satisfaction which the consumer is getting, and he is not having any kind of intention to change it. This is known as consumer's equilibrium position. And there are 2 or 3 conditions which are necessary for making any consumer at equilibrium level on the basis of indifference curve analysis. I'm going to explain you these as well. Okay, what conditions are these? This is marginal rate of substitution for X is equal to Y should be equal to ratio of prices of X and Y. Okay, so this is the first condition. This is just telling you marginal rate of substitution for X as Y. I have already explained you this in detail. Okay, so what is this? So this is just when you when you just leave up the commodities, the units of the second commodity in order to increase the consumption of the units of the first commodity. This is known as marginal rate of substitution. Your marginal rate of substitution for X and Y should be equal to ratio of prices of both the commodities. This is prices of X divided by prices of Y. So these should always be equal. This is the first condition of making any consumer at equilibrium level. So the next is a marginal rate of substitution continuously falls, is just referring to this. Okay, it's just referring to diminishing or decreasing marginal rate of substitution. It's just telling you that marginal rate of substitution should fall continuously. If this is falling only, then you can see that you can say that the consumer is at equal level of satisfaction at all the given combination of the commodities. And the final thing is indifference curve should be tangent to the budget line. Budget line I have already taught you. Budget line is just, you can see here, budget line is just the line which represents the different levels of combination you can purchase with your given income and given prices of commodities. So different levels you can purchase from with the help of your given level of income and given prices of the commodity, and that is known as budget line. Okay, budget line has been represented here. So this has been represented here, and indifference curve has been represented here. Indifference curve you all know. This just tell you the level of the combination of two commodities which can be purchased, okay, which are yielding equal satisfaction to the consumer. When budget line and price line, budget line and difference curve both are tangent. So here you can see that the indifference curve at E point is touching to the budget line BA. Okay, the budget line is BA, the indifference curve is IC2, and this is tangent at point E. Okay, this is tangent at point E. So this thing is known as the level of or the consumer equilibrium level. Okay, so IC2 represent the level of consumer equilibrium. IC3 does not represent because any of its level like H is not tangent to the budget line, and IC1 is also not representing to the level of satisfaction or the equilibrium level of a consumer, because in all these in all this line it's not tangent to the budget line. So the only tangent point is E, and that is represented by indifference curve second. So that is presenting you the consumer's equilibrium level. So I think that should be much more than sufficient in this lecture. Okay, so I hope you would have got the complete idea of what we have covered in this lecture. So if we are just going to make the analysis and the conclusion of what we have done in this specific lecture, first of all, we have talked about the meaning of indifference curve, which I taught you. And secondly, I told you the different combinations of the two commodities which yields equal satisfaction to the consumer. Then we saw about indifference curve. Then we understood regarding monotonic preferences. Then indifference map was shown to them, which shows the different kind of indifference curves. Then indifference map I showed you. Then I taught you regarding marginal rate of substitution, which just tell you that you have to reduce the consumption of units of the Y commodity in order to increase the consumption of units of the X commodity. So it contained three laws in there. The first, we talked about diminishing marginal rate of substitution, which is also known as decreasing marginal rate of substitution. Secondly, we learned about a constant marginal rate of substitution, and finally we understood regarding increasing marginal rate of substitution. Then we understood regarding the properties of indifference curves analysis. Okay, in total there were 6 properties, and these are very important. These can be asked in the examination. Then we learned about the budget line or price line. That was very important to understand, because only then you shall be able to understand about the consumer equilibrium position. Then I taught you regarding how this shifts. The only two reasons are there. Sometimes your income can be increased or decreased, and sometimes prices can be changed. Then we learned about how the consumer becomes at equilibrium position on the basis of indifference curves analysis. This happens on the basis of three conditions. Basically, the first is marginal rate of substitution for X and Y should be equal to the ratio of prices of X and Y. Secondly, marginal rate of substitution continuously should fall. Finally, indifference curve should be tangent to the budget line, that shall be represented by this specific diagram. And if you have gone through, if you have understood this completely, only then you shall be able to understand the upcoming lectures. So I hope you would have enjoyed this, and you would have learned a lot from this specific lecture, and we shall be meeting in the next lecture, that is going to be regarding production functions. And I hope you would have gone through from all the previous lectures as well. Only then you shall be able to you shall be able to understand the complete structure and the concept and subject matter of managerial economics, and you shall be able to gain high scores in that subject. So thank you so much for joining. Regarding next lecture, we shall be intimating you as soon as possible.